Hello everyone, this is Kedar Kulkarni here and I'm presenting this talk in DevConf.US. This is a pre-recorded presentation and today I'm going to talk to you about automation and CI/CD. Isn't that interesting? I'm hoping that some of you are here who are DevOps engineers, some of you are sysadmins, or somebody who's responsible for your CI/CD or just interested in these topics overall. So if that's the case, this is the presentation for you. So thanks for being here. Before we begin, I'm gonna tell you a short story. Few months ago, I find myself and my team in a situation where we are trying to basically set up Jenkins automation pipelines that are integrated well with our new satellite lab infrastructure. The lab infrastructure which had virtualization and cloud platforms. We wanted our Jenkins to integrate with all these infrastructure and cloud platforms very well so that we could create, modify, configure, update, and delete the instances for satellite capsules and so on at will and very easily. We wanted to make this quick, smooth, and easy for everybody on our team to use through UI, through CLI, or through their automation test frameworks, or through Jenkins pipelines. So when we were doing that, I realized that a lot of people might confuse Ansible Tower with Jenkins in such a way that they are trying to compare and contrast these two different tools which have some similar functionality and try to decide which one do they want to use, or why would they really care about using Ansible Tower if they have Jenkins. Those are the kind of questions that people run into, and that's the questions that we had some of our teammates asking us as well. And I decided to present this talk for you to help you and a lot of people outside of Red Hat who are watching this presentation to understand how CI/CD and Ansible Tower can potentially work together really well. So if that's a good introduction for you and if that's interesting, let's dive into the topic. I'm going to talk to you about myself a little bit. I have been at Red Hat for more than 4 years and I'm a senior software engineer in management business unit. This business unit is responsible for Ansible, CloudForms, Satellite, Insights, and other cloud offerings that we have in the management domain. My primary interest lies within infrastructure, automation, DevOps, SRE, etc. So in that, I basically am responsible for managing, deploying, automating all of our cloud and virtualization deployments and making sure that this is all easily 100% or close to 100% available to all of our associates so that they can do their jobs really well. They can have instances and VMs as they need at will quickly enough so that they can test the satellite product very well, because my team is primarily responsible for Red Hat satellite testing and ensuring that the product that we are sending out the door to the customers is really high quality. So for that, we needed a solution where our engineers could have automated deployments of satellite capsules, enterprise Linux VMs, etc. through some kind of automation, through CLI, through API, through the UI, through their test frameworks in the test automation or Jenkins pipelines. And this is where all we started talking about was Ansible and Ansible Tower. So a little bit about Ansible Tower. Ansible Tower, as you can see the screenshot here, is an enterprise level tool that wraps all the functionality of Ansible command line. But not only that, it provides some enterprise level features such as creating and maintaining a job history, job templates, execution of the jobs is recorded, you have audit trails, you are able to basically look at the Ansible Tower instance and figure out who ran which job because you have role-based access control. It centralizes all of your Ansible usage to a single pane of glass. You're able to see all your Ansible hosts or all the hosts that are basically controlled under Ansible using this Ansible Tower instance because it has inventory management and so on. With all these enterprise features, Ansible Tower makes a great tool for automation at an enterprise level. If you're trying to use Ansible alone on your laptop, it may not be able to fulfill all the enterprise needs. What enterprises need is able to tell who's using Ansible, why it is being used, where it is being used, against which hosts, what the state of that host is, how many jobs ran against any given host, or how many times any given job was executed. Was it success? Was it failure? How many hosts do I have within our inventory? How many hosts are being managed by Ansible? Everything can be accessed through this Ansible Tower instance. And that's why Ansible Tower makes it such a great tool. And that basically fits in really well with your entire automation story. So if you are watching this and if you have seen Ansible before, but not Ansible Tower, I'm gonna try to discern the difference between those two things for you. But for everyone else, let's talk about Ansible and Ansible Tower together. So if you're looking at this diagram, you're able to see that there is a connection between Ansible and Tower. Ansible itself has concept of playbooks and roles. Role is a smallest unit of execution that is repeatable, reusable across multiple playbooks. Now, a playbook can have one or more roles, and multiple playbooks can have one role that is common between them. So, any playbook can use any of the roles and they can share the roles, they can do the similar things. So, for example, if you have a web server, an email server, and database server, if you're trying to set up these three different entities, all of them might want you to have a single bare metal or a enterprise Linux virtual machine or something that is common, that provides the infrastructure, that provides the initial virtual machine or instance common between all of these. And once you set up that initial virtual machine, then on that virtual machine you will have the web server, email server, database server installed, configured, and ready to use. So as you can see, even though these three different things are completely different in what they do, all of them need some base infrastructure layer. So in this example, if I were to write Ansible, I would write an Ansible playbook that has roles for creating that initial virtual machine, and that role can be shared across all three playbooks. And then once the role is executed, once the initial virtual machine is created, then from that point onward, each playbook will do its own thing and get its own server setup. So if that makes sense, basically role is a reusable unit. Think of it as a package that you can import within a programming language and use it across multiple software programs by importing and re-importing it wherever you need it, so that you don't have to rewrite that code, you don't have to repeat yourself. And that's what the purpose of role is, and that's how the role and playbooks are related. Now when you go to Ansible Tower level, the overall execution unit changes from playbook to a job template. What job template does for you is basically it wraps the playbook execution, but it also wraps other things that are required for that playbook. A playbook might need you to pass some extra variables, might ask you to pass some credentials, might want you to pass some host information or inventory. Everything is encapsulated between this Ansible Tower job template. And so if you are using the job template, you don't have to worry about all this. So we needed to use Ansible Tower in our team because we wanted to use this important benefit of Ansible Tower. Now imagine if you are in a situation where you have Ansible playbook, maybe a ton of Ansible playbooks that you have written. You have all of them in a GitHub or some kind of version control system repository, and somebody else on your team wants to use it. What are you gonna do? The simple answer is you ask that person to pull in that code from your repository on his local system using git clone, git pull, or every time you update the code, that person has to pull the new latest version of the code again from the upstream repository. And then he needs to know how to install Ansible on his system for the first time. And then every time for any playbook he wants to execute, he needs to have proper environment setup. He needs to know how to call Ansible playbook command line. He needs to know what parameters to pass. He needs to know if some parameter has changed in the playbook. He needs to know how to pass that new parameter and not pass the old parameter. He needs to know everything. And it's not his primary job. So Ansible Tower saves all that trouble. Ansible Tower lets me as an admin or a DevOps engineer, whoever that person might be, able to contribute a playbook along with the job template metadata, where I can tell how that playbook is supposed to be executed, So the person who's actually using it doesn't have to know about it. He can just log into the UI or maybe use Ansible Tower CLI or something like that to call that job template without having to pass a lot of information or without having to know a lot of information. Hence, Ansible Tower is providing an important abstract layer or important layer of abstraction for you, for us in our team. And that's why we kind of chose Ansible Tower. But Ansible Tower also has workflows which basically comprise of multiple job templates that has to be run in a particular serial or parallel order, which is very similar to what Jenkins provides in the pipelines. So let's look at some of the comparison between Ansible Tower and Jenkins. As we spoke earlier, Ansible Tower provides some enterprise level features. It provides you role-based access control. It provides you ability to centralize all of your IT infrastructure. It has a visual dashboard where you see all the quick information in the as soon as you log in. The screenshot that I showed you earlier. It also has ability to schedule jobs. It has ability to schedule notifications, send notifications to different communication media. It could be Slack, it could be IRC, it could be emails, it could be whatnot. A lot of them are pre-integrated in the Ansible Tower and they are ready to use out of the box. You just need to configure them. And then you can easily embed this Ansible Tower as tool within your Jenkins. That's one of the other important topics that we are discussing here today. We wanted a tool in our team that is not only usable by our team members, but also usable by any Jenkins or similar pipelines or automation tools that we may have. We also wanted to make sure we have a central inventory management, central Ansible usage analysis tool where we can see who's using Ansible for what against which hosts and everything. So for us as an admins as well, it was very important to have that visibility which any enterprise might want. Like within your enterprise as well, if somebody is using Ansible against your AWS account or your Google Cloud account, in that case, you want to know who's executing what Ansible and when. And if the things start failing, you should also be able to go back and look at the logs. If people start using their Ansible playbook commands on their local system against these cloud or virtualization environments, it is next to impossible for you to figure out who did what because there are no records. It's on somebody else's laptop. Ansible Tower gets rid of that. It gives you the ability to see everything in the central location in a single pane of glass. Then it also has some important ability of running workflows, which are serial jobs, which is like, suppose I have, for example, I have a task to set up a Red Hat virtualization environment, or I have a task to set up a Red Hat OpenShift environment, something like that. So this cannot be written in a single playbook. It has to be written in multiple things. It has to be multiple playbooks. It has to have multiple roles. It has to run in a serial or parallel fashion. It all cannot be probably in one playbook. So it could be multiple playbooks that work together. And a crude way of putting them together is either having a meta playbook that includes all other playbooks. You can have a shell script that calls Ansible playbooks command one after the other, but all of them are like really stone age if you start comparing that with Ansible Tower workflows. With Ansible Tower workflows, you're able to create multiple job templates that run these multiple playbooks with all the required parameters and then combine them all together in a chain fashion, in a serial fashion. Or if you have parallel requirements, you can do parallelism. If you have a given playbook, if it fails, if a job template fails, if you want to perform a cleanup and you know you need to do it in a certain fashion, then you can have branches in your workflows where you say if if this node succeeds, do this. If this node fails, do this cleanup. So that way Ansible workflows make a very compelling and important feature which is very comparable to Jenkins pipelines. Now enough about Ansible Tower. Let's look at Jenkins a little bit. Jenkins as the Ansible Tower is also an open source project that you can use. Open source project for Ansible Tower is called AWX, not S, and you can use it for free. If you need Red Hat support and licensing, you can purchase that from Red Hat. But in either cases, Jenkins and Ansible Tower both have their code base open source. Is up on GitHub or somewhere, GitHub, available for you to use, and both of them are very popular tools. But Jenkins has been around probably for a lot longer, and it is used by everyone for a lot of centralization in their, not infrastructure, but in their CI/CD. So that's the first distinction. Jenkins is not really for infrastructure. It is not really for infrastructure automation and configuration management. It is for your CI/CD. It doesn't really have the same kind of visual dashboard that Ansible Tower provides. There are other plugins that you can probably use within your Jenkins to have pretty and customizable dashboards, but that's not an out of the box thing. Jenkins is plugin based, and you can enhance your Jenkins experience by using plugins. Ansible Tower is not really plugins based, but Ansible itself, it allows you to write plugins, modules, everything at your will, at your heart's content, if you needed to customize things. And since Ansible Tower itself is open source, you are also able to customize your Ansible Tower if you really wish to. Then Jenkins and Ansible Tower both have role-based access control, both have scheduled jobs, both have job notifications, where job notifications from Ansible Tower are very much integrated in Jenkins. As I mentioned, you might have to use plugins for different kind of notifications, since Jenkins is a lot of plug and play. Then one of the other important comparison as well as distinction is that Ansible Tower has workflows, Jenkins has ability to run multiple jobs or run pipelines. Jenkins is not exactly a tool where you want to put this tool within some of your other systems or integrate into other systems, but it actually helps you integrate a lot of different systems into itself. So in this case, if you take Ansible Tower, you can take that and embed that within your Jenkins pipelines. You can embed other systems or other tools within your Jenkins pipelines to have a complete CI/CD pipeline that can do automated testing, deliveries, integration, everything that you need. That's what the CI/CD stands for if you don't know. Continuous integration and continuous deployments or delivery. So now that we have a better understanding of Jenkins and Ansible Tower and how do they compare, now we are going to look at some of the other important questions of why did we choose Ansible, or why did we choose Ansible Tower? Could we have chosen one or the other? And how would you use these within Jenkins? So let's first look at, can you use Ansible Tower or Ansible within Jenkins? So on this slide, we are talking about Ansible itself, the Ansible core. That is basically the pip install Ansible or yum dnf apt-get install Ansible that you would do on your system, on your laptop, if you were an Ansible user. You can do that within Jenkins. You can use that Ansible playbook commands in Jenkins, and Jenkins has two approaches to do that. It lets you do Ansible Jenkins plugin, so you have to install that plugin in your Jenkins environment, and then it is accessible across your Jenkins. So you can use it anywhere within your Jenkins pipelines, your Jenkins jobs. You can ask it to execute Ansible playbooks or Ansible ad hoc commands. But the problem here is that it is released 2 years ago, the last release, and that's not very recent. And if a project like that is 2 years old while Ansible is in active development every single day, then you're losing a lot of functionality and features because your Jenkins Ansible plugin is old. The other option for you would be, you to use the Ansible would be that you do what you did to install Ansible on your laptop, on your system. So within your Jenkins agents or nodes, you are able to install Ansible, either have it pre-installed or install at the time of execution of your job pipeline, and then use same kind of Ansible playbook commands that you use on your laptop to execute your Ansible playbooks. But the problem here as well is that it's not really easy for your enterprise level visual, like enterprise level visibility. Like if you are a sysadmin and if your team is using Ansible to interact with your cloud or virtualization environments through their CI/CD pipelines or through their laptop, there's no way for you really to track all that in a single location. You would have to actually go into your Jenkins jobs. Like you'll have to look at your Jenkins jobs individually to figure out who's using Ansible where, which job did what and at what time. And it's not really easy. It's not gonna make your life easy as a sysadmin or a DevOps engineer or somebody who's responsible for your cloud and virtualization environments. So what would you do in this case? You would probably want to use Ansible Tower. So can you use Ansible Tower within Jenkins? Yes, you can. As you would guess, the first option is using the plugin. Now, as with the Ansible plugin, the Ansible Tower plugin is also not very much functionality rich or up to date. It is unfortunately not officially supported by Red Hat. So if you are using this, you are basically using an unsupported version of the plugin. And contrary to the Ansible plugin, this plugin was released in June of 2020 at the time of this recording. And this was released in June because I and my team was using the plugin and we decided to report some bugs or functionality requests to the contributor or the main person who has written and maintained this plugin over the past years. And he decided to work on that in his own time as a side project, and he's been maintaining that forever. He basically honored our requests, updated the plugin and released the new one. But that goes on to say that even though this plugin is really great, it may not always be supported and maintained by Red Hat, and it's a community plugin. So the other option you have is to probably use AWX CLI. This is an CLI that lets you basically interface with Ansible Tower using your command line, and it is supported by Red Hat. It's official. And the other thing here to note that is you would have to use this by using maybe a pip install or something within your Jenkins pipeline on your Jenkins nodes or agents so that AWX CLI command line is installed and available for you to use. And then from there you can start using this, maybe using a shell script, or maybe you can also import relevant Python packages or different language bindings in your Jenkins pipelines where you're executing a certain program that can interact with Ansible Tower using the AWX CLI or AWX Kit. So that's another option that is official that works really well. But let's suppose you had a Ansible Tower job template or a workflow template which you wanted to execute within your Python program or within your Jenkins pipeline, and then you wanted to look at how that program or job template is being executed, watch all the output, parse the output, make sense out of it, pass that output to the next step and start using it. And so if you are in that situation, you would have to use 3, 4, 5 different AWX CLI commands to do certain tasks, because there is one command to launch a job, other command to watch job execution, other command to fetch the output, and maybe some custom commands, shell scripting, Python scripting, or whatever it might be, to actually parse the output, understand the output, and send that output to the next step in your pipeline, in your job, in your program. To do all this repetitively within your different pipelines is not a really clever idea, and you would probably want to stop repeating yourself. You'd want to abstract all these commands into maybe a single command that can basically do it. Maybe you'd write a single script that will take some job template name, connect to Ansible Tower, execute it, watch the execution, parse the execution, send the results out to the next steps. But that is what we are doing in our team using this project called Broker project. This Broker project is available on GitHub. It is upstream open source for anybody to use, and it is able to do all this using very simple commands. You can use Broker using command line interface, or you can use Broker with its language bindings within your Python programs. So you can import the Broker, you can have it configured, and within your PyTest or automation or Python programs, you can use Broker to connect to Ansible Tower, and that can be done on your computer, on your Jenkins instance, on your within your CI/CD systems, anywhere you want, however you wish to use this. And it is written by people in my team, in the satellite QE team, and it is really very much in the early stages, but it is doing really well. The functionality it is intending to provide, it's really well embedded within this, and I would highly encourage you to look at the satellite QE space under GitHub, where you can find the Broker project. But enough about these options. So now we have understood that Ansible Tower can be used within Jenkins using different approaches. But then the question is, why or when would you use Ansible Tower within Jenkins versus just using the plain Ansible? So as I may have repeated a few times earlier, I'm gonna re-emphasize that Ansible is not really great if you want to have enterprise level usage. And when I say enterprise level usage, I say you want to have visibility, you want to have control over who's doing what, you want to be able to use role-based access control, you want to have ability to use it with UI for those who are comfortable with UI, or use it with CLI, use it within any of your Jenkins or similar CI/CD tools. And Ansible, although it is a great automation configuration management tool itself, it does not provide that functionality. And when you have use cases such as what we had, you would want to use Ansible Tower. I would go into our use cases a little bit later in this presentation, but right now it is important to understand that Ansible Tower is, this being enterprise level tool, provides a lot of important functionality. So it lets you basically do provisioning, orchestration, deployments, configuration management, everything that Ansible does, with greater visibility, greater control, ability to debug. Like, let's imagine somebody is running some Ansible playbook somewhere on their laptop or somewhere in their Jenkins job. You would have to find out how, and if they ask you for help, like, hey, my job is failing, what should I do, can you help me? And you would want to help them, but you have to look at the job output, and it will be buried within one of your Jenkins job executions, or within somebody's laptop, and then you'll have to try to find that output first before you can ever debug and help them. Ansible Tower has centralized logging where you have all the logs. You can feed these logs actually into maybe a Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana kind of system as well. So there's a lot of information that you can process. There's a lot of things that you can do with Ansible Tower that you cannot do with plain Ansible. So if you're currently using Ansible within CI/CD, I would urge you to check out Ansible Tower project, or I would ask you to look at the AWX project upstream, that is open source version of Ansible Tower, and see if it can fit your processes, because it is really well built tool and it can help you achieve a lot more with a little bit more of effort on your side. There is other presentation which I have provided recording for in the DevConf this year, and you may have watched this, or you may be able to watch that presentation later, which talks about how you can set up Ansible Tower completely using infrastructure as code and not having to deal with the clicky UI. UI is great for the end user, but for a super user like yourself, like an admin, DevOps engineers who are really very well aware of what they are doing, what they are trying to achieve, you would probably want to do things faster using CLIs, APIs, and infrastructure as code, have it repeatable, reproducible, shareable, or all that nice things that come with the infrastructure as code, all the benefits of infrastructure as code will apply to that. I would definitely encourage you to not only check out the Ansible Tower or AWS itself, but check out my other presentation for this purposes only. So you would not be daunted, you're not gonna be afraid to try Ansible Tower, knowing that you can set this up, make it easy to use and reproducible, make it easy on yourself if you are maintaining this Ansible Tower using infrastructure as code. So now that we kind of understand that why Ansible Tower can help you and why it is a great tool to use within your Jenkins or within your CI/CD system, let's look at some of our use cases. As I have mentioned on this slide, I have use cases that are related to provisioning, deployments, automation, configuration, orchestration, all that kind of stuff that you do within your typical infrastructure and DevOps environments. We had to do those similar things. Some of our use cases were template creation. So because we are a QE team, what we would have to do is every time a new build comes out of Satellite or Red Hat Enterprise Linux from development team, from the release engineering team, there are internal builds that happen a lot before any public beta or GA build is sent out. So for all these builds, we need to have converted these builds or these images into a fully functional Satellite, fully functional Red Hat Enterprise Linux virtual machine template that is available on all of our infrastructure, like virtualization environments, all of our cloud environments, so that anybody within our QE team or any Jenkins job that's running is able to connect to these cloud virtualization environments and use the latest template, which is based off of latest builds, to conduct the testing, conduct the automated regression testing, automated functional testing, and everything. So our use case was that we would want our Jenkins or CI/CD system to basically listen to universal message bus, where we receive a notification of a new build, understand that message, and somehow connect to all of our cloud and infrastructure virtualization environments and create new templates based off of the latest build that we just received a notification about. And to do that, we could have used Ansible itself, but we did not choose to do that because of all the reasons I mentioned why Ansible Tower was better. And we used Ansible Tower using Broker because all the reasons I mentioned why it is better than AWS CLI in certain use cases. In our use cases, it was really great. So our use case was to get that new build and create those templates and have them available within the matter of some minutes. And that's what we are able to do with all this setup, where we have Ansible Tower and CI/CD integrated very well with all of our cloud and virtualization environments. If that sounds very interesting to you, you might want to check out Ansible Tower and try to use it today. But then there are some more use cases. As I said, these templates not only have to be present there, but these templates need to be available all the time, always, quickly enough after the build is arrived, because after every build arrives or every time new code changes are submitted, we are running Ansible Tower, we are running these template creation jobs, followed by integration, smoke test, regression test, all kind of test suites within our CI/CD system. These are periodic or scheduled jobs, or they are triggered based on the triggering conditions, but they need to have that latest latest templates, so that using those templates they can create new VMs and conduct the testing. And that's what we do in this slide. What we have mentioned is basically we take those templates that are created in previous steps, and we have our broker integrated within our automation test framework. So broker project is able to talk to Ansible Tower, and it is able to embed within our PyTest automation framework, where we use broker to connect to Ansible Tower, get new instances for testing, and these new instances are then used to conduct all the test execution. And at the end of test execution job, we delete these instances again using broker. So broker is really an integral part of our automation test framework as well. And then basically using this broker and automation test framework, all of our CI CD jobs are built. So basically here is how it goes. We take broker, ask Ansible Tower for instances, then it comes back with the instances, broker passes that to the test framework and testing happens, and at the end the teardown step happens where we connect to broker, which connects to Ansible Tower and deletes all those instances that were created for the testing and makes the cleanup happen. And all of this is happening within a Jenkins pipeline. So this is how it is all related, and we are able to use this all together in a single cohesive system, even though it might seem complicated to listen to right now, but it really gets very intuitive and easy to set up as you go along. The last use case we have is to actually save some money. Right, saving money in terms of cloud and virtualization resources. Everybody across the industry, I'm pretty sure, has seen this problem where somebody is connecting to your cloud and virtualization environment on your team, and they are not able to always go back. They are either busy, they forget about this, but they don't really clean up after their usage is done. And there's no problem with that. It's just the human nature to focus on their main tasks at hand and kind of sometimes forget about the other housekeeping things, which we as sysadmins would have to do manually, or some kind of Jenkins or automation, Python, Java, whatever kind of scripts or playbooks or whatever you want to write, that right, to use that, to do that, to make that happen, can be done. But in our case, we wrote Ansible playbooks, and we are running those Ansible playbooks using Ansible Tower, where Ansible Tower is responsible so that it's every time when it is provisioning a new instance, it is setting an expiry time and date on these instances. And then it is watching these instances periodically to make sure these instances are within their expiry time, and if not, they are cleaned up, they are deleted, they are removed from the storage, they don't use the CPU resources anymore, they are not charging us money if we were to use public cloud, they are not charging us electricity bills and usages in our data centers because we are not running the VMs that nobody really needs and they just forget to delete. So Ansible Tower can help you achieve that as well. As you can see, Ansible Tower, Jenkins and Broker together, all of them are working in really a single cohesive system, which is helping us to reach to the point where today we have a lot of Ansible Tower jobs and workflows that our team is using with all the different methods, as I said, using UI, CLI, APIs, through their test frameworks, through the Jenkins and automation, everything. So if you are in a dilemma where you want to choose between Ansible Tower and Ansible and Jenkins or any CI/CD systems, I would say definitely consider what you heard today in this talk. Definitely consider using the Ansible Tower within your CI/CD system, and I hope it will make your lives better. So I'm really happy to present this interesting talk to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great conference after this talk as well. So thank you for attending. This is all my contact information should you need it. I will be happy to share the slides with you, and recordings I'm pretty sure will be available on YouTube. But thank you again. You have a great day. Cheers. Bye bye.